Alright, what's up? Live bodybuilder from Thailand. What's up? Doing my cardio. Just did chest day, so I got a big chest pump. Looks like a whiskey barrel. Um, so what I've been doing lately, sometimes people wonder, they say like, what do you watch on YouTube? Mostly what I watch on YouTube is World War II stuff and Cold War stuff. I'm really like not a nerd. Like I don't play video games and I'm not like overly into technology. Like video games, I got bored of them when I was 15. But the one way that you could say that I am nerdy is I'm really into history. I've always been into history. So I study history in my free time. That's one of my hobbies. And my favorite, I guess I first got like a love for it. I started studying the Civil War in middle school. And I was like, damn, man. Howdy, versatile. And I was like, damn, I can't believe how intense this is and how good the stories are around these battles and everything. Like the stories are awesome, and the strategy that goes on between the different generals and shit in war. So I had a few years where I really, really enjoyed studying the Civil War. Ryan says can't get enough of Vietnam War history. Yeah, that's a good one because there's a lot of video footage of that one, unlike any other war, because there were reporters over there like filming the war with the soldiers. Freaking crazy. But then World War II especially. So World War II was one of the major turning points of the world. Like the world that we're living in today, World War II has a lot to do with it. And another thing is that, like, there was World War I, right? And there was World War II. So that was the 1920s, and then there was the 1940s. And then there was Vietnam. That was the 1960s. And then amid that, since the 50s, you had the Cold War. And then, the 90s, you have, starting in the Middle East. But then, the century before that, you'd had the Civil War. And you'd had, like, the Second War with Britain, which was 1812. And you had other wars too. And this is just ones that America is involved in, not the rest of the world. And then in the 1700s, you have the Revolutionary War too. So these wars are really consistently, and if you go back throughout the centuries from now back, the wars that happen during each century are really predictable, or it's like they always happen, right? It's not something of like, oh, that was rare. That was rare that these big conflicts happened. It's not rare at all. It actually happens very predictably and reliably every century. So I think it's because of the technology. But people are, especially in the Western world, are lulled to sleep about the possibility and probability of war. They are lulled to sleep, and for some reason people don't think that, well, actually I think it's technology. I think because people can see technology now and see like, oh, the Russians aren't like, alien warmongers, they're just normal people like us, like the average Russian person like doesn't want to go to war, or, the average Iraq person or whatever, whatever nation, we might have tensions with. When you can see them on the internet and on social media and stuff like that, and you can see that they're just normal people, I think it makes the public think like, oh, well, those people aren't going to attack us or something like that. But it sure can happen, because it really just has to do with the leaders. And it's going to happen. There's going to be more world conflicts, and the balance of world power is like not set. That's another thing. is that since World War II, that was when America like became like the superpower it is, and like took over like basically like the world, became number one world trade, extreme military and financial dominance and world power projection, with expanded military. That happened since World War II. So that's been 70 years. That's only been 70 years. And the world power structure is in flux. And other countries, that have been in power before, the 70 years happened, who had been, major powers or colonial powers, they want that power back that they lost to the United States during World War II. And so then you have these new people in America who are woke people. Woke really means lulled to sleep. The people who call themselves woke or awake have been lulled to sleep by propaganda. And they are people who have, they're not in touch with reality, and they're the kind of people who are very weak and are going to destroy America. Once they get into power, if they do get into power, it's not going to take a long time at all for America to have major financial crash, and to lose its spot at the top of the world power structure. And then you're going to have other countries capitalizing on that and taking over that spot in the power structure. This is what President Trump was talking about at the White House the other day when he was, how he did that thing the other day where he told the four girls, there's the four socialists who are congresswomen, and he told them like go back where you came from or whatever over the weekend. What he's doing is he knows that if people like that get in control of the United States, it's over. It's over. Like everything that the United States is proud of being, any sense of nationalism, it's over once those people, or if those people get into power. So, very important to keep them out of power. Very important for the silent majority of conservatives to let their voices be heard. This is the thing though about bodybuilding people, bodybuilding and fitness people, is that what, most of us are conservatives. That's like part of, if you are interested in bodybuilding and fitness, chances are you're also interested in living, well, in conservative politics, really. Hi, Bender Over. Chances are that you're also like that. You're interested in like conservative women, conservative value, family and value structures. That doesn't mean that you always deal with conservative women, but it means that you, that's ideal. It means it's ideal. So, I noticed something the other day is that because most people don't really talk about politics too much, unless it's what their channel is about or something. A lot of people say like, oh, don't mix your brand with what you think. Don't share your opinions. Just make your brand have to do with one thing only, completely one-dimensional. What I noticed the other day is that the Hodge twins, they opened up a conservative politics channel called Conservative Twins. So the Hodge twins, bodybuilding guys, the two black guys, they opened up a channel called Conservative Twins, and they chime in on political issues and kind of like make fun of Democrats and shit. It's pretty funny. pretty funny. You guys got to check out Conservative Twins. There's also this other guy that I watch called BCP is what he calls himself. His name, he calls himself Black Conservative Patriot. And I think that's so funny because combining those three words is like, it's like what the liberals, they can't stand that, you know? They don't want those three words to go together, BCP, Black Conservative Patriot. That's like an oxymoron to liberals. So this guy, he's a really cool dude. He's a really cool black dude on YouTube. And he just speaks his mind and is in touch with reality, and he calls himself that. And he talks on all the stuff going on too. Right now I'm doing cardio. I did a chest workout today. Another black guy. Yeah, I think it's cool when black guys talk conservative politics. That's pretty cool. It really shows like a really strong ability to think for themselves, because the majority of the people that look like them don't think the same thing. So that really shows a strong mindedness and ability to be confident in your own thoughts when those guys are open and sharing their opinions like that. Specifically black guys, when the majority of their community doesn't agree with them. So I respect that. But yeah, I'm doing cardio right now. I am on had a good workout today. Why did I title this World War II? At the beginning of the video, I was talking about World War II and what I do in my spare time, or what I do in my free time, because I was saying that, thanks Instrumentals, I'm glad you're enjoying the book. What I do in my spare time is I like to learn about war history, and I like to learn about like weapons technology. So like battleships, missiles, ballistic missiles, different military technology. Interested. It's what I do. It's what I do in my free time. What I do for recreation. But yeah, I had a good workout today. I've been. I think I showed you guys earlier. See that? Looks like a whiskey barrel or something. But am I ready to storm Area 51? That's funny. I can't believe that people are. I don't know what that's all about, but I've heard something about that recently, and I thought that was funny. I don't think there's any aliens there. I had a good workout today, though. I had been doing full body workout for a long time because I took a long time off of any steroids there for a while, guys. So once March hit, I even took time off from the gym. I took a month off from the gym once March hit. Zero gym, zero hormones, and then I did TRT for 3 months, and then some SARMs and shit, but it totaled ended up being like 4 or 5 months off of hormones. And during that time, that was enough time for my body to start looking, like going from looking like a bodybuilder, which requires drugs. So a bodybuilder looks like he's on drugs, okay? So that's why a bodybuilder looks the way that they do, because they're on drugs. So I went from looking like a bodybuilder to looking more like a normal person again. In those 4 or 5 months off of hormones. But I'm starting to look a little more muscular again. I'm not into too many conspiracy theories. Um, I'm more open. I'm more into like reality, right? So sometimes people call like the way things really are conspiracy theories, but I'm not into like wild conspiracy theories or really weird things or anything like that. But I'm in. But if people, you know, if there's a veil being pulled over people and it's reasonable, the most reasonable logical conclusion is the conspiracy theory, then yeah, of course I'm open to that. Zigaton says, "You say your muscles look." Uh, I said feel like steel cables. Zigaton says, "So you say your muscles look like steel cables. What other mental or other effects do you think of?" I guess he's trying to accumulate information on what it's like to be on gear. Um, have you read the book? Because my book, Ultimate Guide to Roids, is the best resource for understanding like what it's going to be like to be on gear. If you haven't been on it before, if you read that book, then you're going to know like exactly what it's going to feel like to be on it, like what the experience is going to be like. But hold on, let me rewind that. I forgot. I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, the steel cables comment. Yeah, I made that comment about the difference between what it feels like to be on and off steroids, and that when you're off steroids, it can kind of feel like when you're using the heavy weights that you're used to using, or just if you're natural and you've never used them before and you're getting near your natural limits. Either that or if you're using the weights that you normally do lift when you're on steroids, it can kind of feel like you're ripping your body apart. I think a lot of naturals can relate to me with this. Is when you're really like lifting as hard as you can, as heavy as you can, and you've been doing this for, enough time, more than a year to build up a decent strength level. It can, when you go to the gym, it can sort of feel like you're ripping your body apart. And then it will feel like really hard to recover when you get back. Like you'll never really feel like your muscles are like really like filling up and recovering. You almost feel like you're sustaining more and more injury almost like every time you go to the gym. And that's what I mean by like tearing your body apart. If you're lifting really heavy and really trying to make progress and lift hard and be intense after you've been going to the gym for a long time, it starts to get that way, where you feel like you're tearing yourself apart, tearing your muscles apart. But then just the very act of having testosterone injections into your body, it redoes the way that your muscle fibers feel. The strength that they just have as a fiber, it increases by like at least like 30%. Like it no longer feels like you're going to be ripped apart and stuff like that. That's what I mean by it feels like steel cables. It feels more indestructible, or like the work that you can do in the gym doesn't injure you, or like you can handle it, or like you can recover from it. It's like there's nothing you can't recover from. Stuff like that. Like, and it just doesn't feel like they're gonna rip. When you're lifting, you feel much more confident, and they just feel stronger. That's what I mean by the steel cables. Let me look at some of these more questions. Fernando Al Maguire says, do you think one should come off TRT to Clomid and HCG for a month or two? If so, how often? Yeah, people have asked me about this before, and usually I say what I do. So I've talked about this before, is that I don't have like a set schedule, like I say normally I go on TRT or cycle. But sometimes I just also just stop taking everything. I've mentioned this before. I'll stop taking everything and just take nothing for like 5 or 6 weeks, and I do that like 3 times a year. Um, that's what I do. And then I take HCG. Other than that time, I take HCG year round at 500 IUs, and I don't have like small shrunken testicles, so uh, they have shrunk really considerably before, but I don't like that. And a lot of guys say things like, oh, well, they just get in the way, so it's better if they're like shrunk anyways, because like that's one of the things that you're gonna have to deal with, is the size of your testicles if you're a bodybuilder. And so, you know what, after a while of having shrunk testicles, I decided, you know what, man, fuck this. I don't like that. So I started taking HCG year round instead of having shrunk fucking testicles and being fucking sterile, infertile all the time, and like not having much jizz. Because that's like another thing. That's another thing about taking roids, man. Taking gears. You stop shooting out barely any jizz. Like when you come, like barely anything comes out. So that's like a major drawback. Again, like shrunken testicles, and then like nothing shooting out of your dick. Fuck that shit, man. Fuck that. And so I've corrected all those problems with 500 IU HCG year round. So plenty of semen now. And balls are not shrunk, they're full size. I have to be careful not to sit on them, when I'm doing like incline press or something like that. They're full size and hanging loose, so I have to make sure that I don't sit on them or whatever, But I wouldn't ever experience that kind of feeling at all, never, if I wasn't taking the HCG. Then I would never have to worry about sitting on them accidentally. We'll look at a couple more questions. HCG doesn't make you shoot massive loads, but it does, like, if you are on gear, then you won't be shooting very big loads, right? And if you take HCG, then it will absolutely be back to 100% fully normal, as if you weren't taking gear. HCG directly communicates with your testicles, okay? You inject it, and it goes directly to your testicles, and it directly stimulates them, as if your pituitary gland was releasing luteinizing hormone to stimulate them, okay? Which is what makes them function. So when you take HCG, you're getting really good testicular function. Zigaton said, did it make you bigger down there? No, not HCG, but like human growth hormone and like steroids over the long term, just in general, they kind of like grow your dick slightly, very slightly over years, okay? Over years. So I'm talking like probably like half an inch over like 3 years or something like that. Like it's very slow and it's very not that much. Or like 1 year of growth hormone, maybe like pharmaceutical grade growth hormone with like high dose steroids, like maybe 1 year growing like, might grow your dick like 1/4 to half an inch. Yeah, okay. Looks like I'm going to take off pretty soon then, unless you guys have another couple questions. Yeah, Zigatan asks, are you okay with taking a HCG with your TRT protocol? I would. A lot of doctors, uh, I've had a cold the past few days. You guys have probably heard my nose. That's why I haven't been on the camera the past few days, because I've had a cold. So, excuse me. Uh, a lot of doctors prescribe the HCG with the TRT together because it makes you feel better. So this is the thing, is that just taking the testosterone injections, you're shutting off your natural hormone production, but you're not getting some of the upstream hormones that testosterone production, natural testosterone production produces. So there's other hormones that are produced in the process of getting to testosterone, like, DHEA, dihydroepiandrosterone, DHEA, and androsterone. There's a bunch of pro hormones to testosterone that get created in your body during the testosterone synthesis process that your body makes. Okay, and so you get all these pro hormones and metabolites, which are hormonal compounds that are floating through your bloodstream, and a lot of them work in your brain. So when you, and also like sexual function and stuff like that. So when you inject testosterone and you don't inject HCG with it, okay, now you're still getting the end product, the testosterone, the most important hormone. You're still getting that, and then you're getting DHT, dihydrotestosterone too. So you're getting the two most important hormones from injecting the testosterone. You get the dihydrotestosterone because testosterone gets converted to dihydrotestosterone, very potent in your brain, from 5-alpha reductase enzyme in your blood, attaches testosterone molecule, inject the testosterone, or natural testosterone, doesn't matter, transforms it into dihydrotestosterone, which is as potent in your brain as tren is in your muscles. It's very, very potent. So you get those two, right, from injecting testosterone without HCG. You get testosterone and dihydrotestosterone in your bloodstream. But the other hormones that are the prohormones that go into the, they're like precursors to those molecules, they're not going to be made. So you're going to be completely lacking those. And so a lot of guys will notice, if they're on TRT, if they add DHEA, dihydroepiandrosterone, you can buy this at like the drugstore and take those tablets, that they feel a lot better. They actually feel a lot better. They feel like a little bit of a weight has been lifted from their head. They feel happier. And this will be because they're not getting those prohormones manufactured naturally anymore. And they're not getting them from their TRT. And so then they take that dihydroepiandrosterone, and it provides those prohormones and helps them feel better. But a better way to do it would be to produce them yourself naturally. And so if you can take HCG with your TRT, then you'll feel the best, because then you'll have the prohormones that you're producing naturally. Your balls are going to be functioning at 100%. Your loads are going to be the correct amount. That's important. And what else? You're gonna feel better. You're just gonna feel better, like a weight has been taken off of your head. You're gonna have all those prohormones from HCG injections. So HCG is really good. It's really important. It's really underrated. If you're gonna be on hormones for a long period of time, I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. It's also an amazing PCT tool, because when you come off of gear, you don't need to have any time when you have like low testosterone. If you take HCG, you can just bridge it so that you have high natural testosterone the moment you come off gear with HCG. Alright, I am going to take off now, and I'm gonna go eat. Yeah, I had a really good workout today. Alright, bye-bye.